Hello, Trish.
Yes, is this Paul?
Yeah, this is Paul, and I'm in the studio with Big A and Denise. Say hi, Big A.
Andrew, hello. Hi, Denise.
Hi, how are
Trish.
you?
Oh my God, Denise.
Okay.
Denise actually sounds clear on the radio. The fucking tip that Joe just gave us about the microphone's working out well. We actually have we have Joe Coletta in studio. He's making a documentary about podcasting called No Station Required. And he's a big, and he was a big fan of your husband, so we let him stay.
Okay.
I've met you, Trish, at Johnny O's a couple times.
Who is this? Cousin Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The fireworks king, sure. I remember. Otto almost blew his finger off one 4th of July.
I remember.
Yeah, that's a good thing to get remembered for. You nearly killed my husband.
Sorry?
I'm just saying that's the thing you want to get remembered for.
Yeah. Yeah. So how are you guys doing?
We're doing good. How are you?
I'm okay, thanks. Okay. What about John Paster? Did you manage to get him?
Yeah, I'm just adding him to the contacts so I can give him a call in 2 seconds. He wasn't. He wasn't sure which number I was going to be calling, so I had to wait for him to text me to tell me which.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I'm gonna add him to the thing right now. Let's see. Here we go. Add.
Cousin Joe, Johnny O and I were just talking about you, as a matter of fact. What was it? Oh, he couldn't figure out his fucking Skype to talk to Roz in Dubai. And he said he was going to call you. I'm like, he's so fucking clueless, that guy.
I have to set aside a day just to be Johnny O's IT guy.
Yeah.
Skype working.
Liar. All right.
Liar.
All right, I'm going to call John now. You might hit the dial tone. Hold on.
Okay.
Does that other set of headphones work?
That one's right there, yeah.
Do they do? Okay.
Yeah. If you get a seat.
Yeah, I'm gonna just.
No organization in this place.
Hello.
Hey, John, you're on with your friend Trish, your Andrew, Joe, Denise, and some dude with a camera. I don't fucking know the name of.
His name is Dan.
Some guy off the street.
Yeah,
Hi,
exactly.
Trish.
Hi, John.
How are you?
We've been playing phone tag.
I know. It's good to hear your voice.
Like a month. Yeah, same here. It's like a month.
I know.
I think we're going to sit here and they're going to talk about their fucking laundry and what they
Well, I have a load of whites in right now.
I was just watching on the computer. I'm the other guy watching. Besides Goldstein,
2 people.
Goldberg, whatever the hell.
Yeah, we get at least 50 times as many people listening on the MP3, the iTunes or whatever.
On demand.
Than we do.
That's the end thing.
When we post the video on YouTube, we get a couple hundred, but on iTunes we're in the thousands already, which is crazy when you think about it. I think it's down to the fact that we have people like on the show as guests. Yeah. Plus, people know me, more people know Big A, and we get.
Hopefully, you'll edit out this part.
Yeah.
I'm like a caveman. I don't even know what a part. I just gave up my Victrola for an 8-track. So.
Oh, congratulations, John.
Yeah.
You're stepping up. Paul, you and I met, actually. Do you remember?
Oh, we've met a few times. My most distinct memory of you is we were talking to Otto, and he's drinking, and we're talking about a bunch of stuff, and we're joking about all kinds of shit. And then Big A shows up, and I'm like, I sat down next to you, and I'm like, get away from her, Big A. This is going to be a rape. And Otto actually got pissed off. He actually got pissed off at me for saying that Big A was going to rape his wife. And I'm like, have you heard your comedy? Have you heard what you say every day?
Yeah.
We met a few times. So let's talk a little bit about. John, assume you met Otto way before Trish, right?
We met in '83, actually.
And that was at the Pips Comedy Club in Brooklyn?
Yeah, I was just starting as a comic, and I was friends with the Schultzes, actually, because I was a bartender and they were all drunks. And, well, George was anyway. But they said, hey, you got to come. Otto and George are playing. And I had heard about him, but I didn't know really who he was. Little did I know is he would be in the club during open mic nights, and he knew who I was. And he actually came up to me and just put his hand out and said, hi, I'm Otto. And I went, "Oh, I'm coming to see you." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm working here." And I went, "Yeah, well, that's why I'm here." And we just like hit it off. We just became friends after that, and we were friends ever since.
So
Otto had a way of doing that with people.
Yeah, he really did. He just had this like warm thing about him, like you know, where he just came over, you know, and it didn't matter. It could be the most famous person in the world, or some, you know, just some guy on the street like me, you know, just a regular Joe.
Yeah, I noticed that in person he's a very, you know, a nice guy. If you introduced him and someone didn't know who he was, you would never guess he's the guy with the cursing puppet.
Yeah.
A lot of times after his shows, people wouldn't recognize him as they were leaving because they spent a lot of time when he was on stage actually looking at the puppet and not him, you know? So sometimes people, as they were leaving, wouldn't even recognize him, you know, which I kind of found interesting.
Right. So, John, did your comedy career go any further at that point?
Oh, yeah, right to the toilet. You know you're doing bad when your best gig is a Frank Sinatra Jr. impersonator. That's your real
Well, Rich Voss still does shows at fucking bowling alley, so I wouldn't even be too worried about it. He's making money. That's cool. So, Trish, how long after that was it you met him?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, I met Otto in 98, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. Wait, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, 98. Yeah, about that. Yeah. 97, 98.
Big A
we were never big on, you know, keeping track of that kind of stuff. Right. So, yeah.
Big A was looking at me like you got that wrong and he was going to correct you.
No.
That sounds about right. But it was the same kind of situation where I worked with the guy that made Telecrappies. He was my boss, and he had been telling me for years and years, you got to come see this guy, you got to come see this guy. And, you know, I kept blowing it off, and then finally Otto was playing in Hoboken, where I lived at the time. I'm like, all right, I'll go up. And it was the same situation. We met. He walked up, actually, and he had George in a duffel bag at that time. So he was just I didn't even know who he was. He was just some guy with a duffel bag. And I looked at him, I'm like, who are you? And he sat down next to me, he said, I'm Otto. And we were just fast friends after that.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was
a lot has changed.
Immediate.
A lot changed since then because when I was, you know, around him while he was working, that dummy was in a big padded box with a padlock.
Yes.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, John, did you ever get to see him on the streets? Because I heard he started off doing like street performances, right?
I never seen him. I seen him when we met. He was still doing bachelor parties, so he just kind of graduated off the street. But it's a funny thing because I was always into photography, and I took pictures of street performers, and I would show Otto. Like there's this one juggler, and Otto looks and he goes, "Hey, I know that guy. That's my corner." You know, I had like 3 different guys with pictures, and I would mention their names and stuff, and he would know who they were.
Wow.
He knew, you know, that movie Philippe Petit. They knew each other from working the street. Otto had
he had worked with Philippe, yeah. I think Philippe was the one. He would tell me Philippe would draw a circle on the ground and then, you know, ride a unicycle around it and do all the stuff inside of it. When the cops would come to break up the crowd, like Otto said, they would burst through the crowd into the middle of the circle, and Philippe would just jump into the crowd away from the circle. And the cops would just burst into the middle, and there'd be nobody there performing. And they'd be like, what the fuck is going on? There's nobody there to arrest.
They probably thought he was playing craps, but he was really doing the show. You know?
Yeah.
What were Otto's, do you know what his early influences were back then?
Oh, Winchell for sure. Paul Winchell.
Yeah.
I used to love that guy.
That's really, right?
Yeah, he had
when he was a kid, he loved Winchell Mahoney Hour. And Knucklehead, and John, you were with him when he actually got to see Winchell's puppets, which was an amazing moment for him.
He picked up Knucklehead, and he was working it, and you know there's
a video on YouTube of it. Somebody posted it. I think one of David Copperfield's people posted it.
One of his guys that he had working there. I was begging Copperfield for a job because of that. I'll do anything. Put me on one of those your own islands. You know, don't you need somebody to just like rake the sand? Anything. I don't care.
That sounds like a good job.
Yeah,
I would
really.
do that too.
You know, hey, I'm sure. Hey, I'm David Copperfield's lawn grower. Yeah, it's quite a connection to have right there, right?
Yeah.
So
but he also liked, with Bergen and McCarthy. He loved them. That was one of the things that we clicked on. That I liked old time stuff, and so did he. So I remember I brought a tape. I found an old bootleg tape of Winchell Mahoney, like the early shows when they used to zoom in. It was like in a basement, and you'd go in through the window. And we sat there. We must have watched it 3 times, just over and over.
That's so cool.
That's fun.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's funny because what Otto and I clicked on was, remember, John, he had a dog called Larry.
Yeah.
And he was, one of the first things, he loved Larry so much. And one of the first things he was telling me was he had a dog named Larry. And I asked him if he named it after Larry Fine. And he named it, he didn't. He named it after a friend of his named Larry.
Oh.
And, but I told him Larry was my favorite stooge. And this was the first night that we met, and he just loved that. The fact that I had a favorite stooge, 1, and 2, that it wasn't Curly or Mo.
Right.
Like he found that to be unusual. Not many people find Larry to be their favorite stooge. But
I wonder if you went on a dating site now and then you put that down as your favorite thing. If you get anywhere. It's strange how things bring people together, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
I
sorry,
remember telling him, I said, you know something, you're going to have to marry Trish. How many women even will watch the Three Stooges? She has a favorite.
I love the Three Stooges.
Don't you know? They're the best.
I love them.
Yeah.
I for the longest time,
I think it changed a little bit though when Shemp came in.
For the longest time, I thought Curly was the guy with the black hair.
No, that's.
Well, you're kidding me.
No, I didn't know. No one ever told me. I know. What can I tell you?
Sheesh.
Yeah, it's funny. Did Otto start off as a clean ventriloquist?
On the street, yeah.
Okay.
He was always a bit risque, but on the street, he had to be, fairly clean, but he was always, and that's the thing that carried over was how good he was at ad-libbing.
Right. Because
anything could happen on the street, people would come over and they would say something, and it's like he always had one in the chamber. He was always ready for something.
So sorry, go ahead.
That's what it was so fun to just hang out, just to hang out with him. And I remember we went into a White Castle, and this guy's complaining, working behind the counter, that his glasses keep breaking. Every time he gets up, I drop my glasses. I get up to get something, I drop my glasses. So Otto goes, you got to stop getting up.
That was probably back when actually white people worked at White Castle, though, right?
Well, 2 of them.
Yeah. So what was Otto's big stepping stone after he was at Pips? I mean, do you know what the next thing that pushed him along in his career was?
Well, the bachelor parties helped a lot. There was a guy named Danny Fields, who I always thought that Danny was the inspiration for Broadway Danny Rose, but Woody Allen says no. But he would book like strippers for private parties, all these weird things, one-arm jugglers, one-legged tap dances, 7-foot belly dances,
sideshow,
and
and Otto and George.
Yeah, and he had on he couldn't put X-rated, so he had to put adult ventriloquist in the ad in his yellow pages. But he was known as the Happy Booker, and that helped Otto a lot. That Otto made, he made a living. He was able to eat and move on from there because of Danny. Danny was a good guy.
That's a good way to promote yourself, actually, is to bring other people in and then just put yourself in there too and kind of get yourself going, right?
Yeah, well, I wound up working for him half the time. I was, security, and I would, I'd introduce Otto to come in, and I'd get like $50, $75 to drive everybody, and and I'd keep an eye on, watch to make sure nobody got too nasty with the girls or anything like that. But Otto was the only comic. You'd work a bachelor party. There'd be 3 strippers, and the people would wind up wanting to see him more than the strippers because he was that funny. He really was.
I've never been to a bachelor party where there's a ventriloquist.
Well, sometimes they would have. I did it a couple times. It was a horror show. It was terrible. But one time we had like 6 girls. We're upstate New York. And Otto opens up for the girls, and Danny was a total worrier. He worried about everything. There's no parking. Something's going to go wrong. We're going to get arrested. There's like 400 guys in this place, and it's all the way upstate, like 2 hours from the city. And after the girls go on stage, and they came out, and they started doing like lap dances, and guys are tipping them and stuff. And, me and we just walked outside, we smoked a joint, we came back in, and Danny's almost in tears. He's going, I know it, we're going to get arrested. And some guy, he's standing there with me and Otto, and he goes, what's with your boss? And I went, he thinks we're going to get busted because, the girls are lap dancing and, and they're getting all naked and, And he goes, I doubt that. And he points over to this big fat guy who's about 400 pounds and sweating, and he's got 2 girls. And he goes, that's the police chief.
Perfect.
That's funny. So I was going to say, was there like a particular bachelor party that he met someone that kind of made the next step, or was it just like word of mouth about how good he was that got him going?
No, it was just, it was word of mouth. Like people would see him, he'd work a place in Staten Island, or, a back room or something like that. And then when he got into a regular club, people go, hey, I know that guy. And it was really word of mouth. It just got around, where people knew each other. And other comics knew how funny he was. And they would say, hey,
other comics loved him.
Yeah, he was really a comics comic.
Now, I got the impression from when I met him that he was kind of uncomfortable being around big crowds. He liked the intimacy of like a small club. Is that true?
Well, he could handle it. That's one thing. He would definitely get nervous. Like Trish, you were there, right? At when he did Letterman.
I was with him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I remember he called from the green room, and he told me.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I remember during the rehearsal, I've never seen Otto nervous, and he had to go on and rehearse, and, it was just a couple of stagehands, and, oh boy, who was the guy, the black guy who was like the stage manager or something, I don't remember his name, sat in Dave's chair, and and they were doing like the camera test, and Otto seemed so nervous, and like he wasn't like finishing any of his jokes. Like the stagehands were laughing, but it was just I was thinking to myself, oh my God, he's going to go up there and like freak out and not remember any of his jokes or anything. And he got up there and he killed. Yeah, but he just seemed so, and I've never seen him nervous, and but I didn't know he called you. Did he see? And because he wouldn't tell me if he was nervous,
Yeah, I said to him, "Are you nervous?" And he goes, "Don't even ask." And he goes,
"Yeah."
Well, he goes, 1 minute I'm freezing, next minute I'm sweating.
Yeah. Oh God! And he had that freaky makeup on too. He looked really crazy. Because I didn't want to watch from the audience. I wanted to be backstage when he got done.
Right.
And I didn't want to have to sit through the rest of the show and know he was backstage by himself.
Right.
So I just remember watching from the TV in the green room, and he looked great. But then when he came back in, he had this makeup on, and it was just so weird. You couldn't tell from TV.
Yeah. Do you think he was nervous because he's not a clean comic, and he was kind of concerned that his humor might not be so great as when he's uncensored?
I don't think it was that. I think it was more about just being on David Letterman,
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think he was worried about the material at all. I think it was just being on, national TV that would have made him more nervous. I think he was pretty confident.
John, I wonder if he ever said to you anything about ever imagining himself being on a show like that on TV.
Well, we'd talk about it because we always joked. I used to always say that I wanted to get on Carson when it was the Tonight Show when it was Carson, and because back in the 70s and the 80s, that was how you knew that you made it, and sometimes when I would talk about it, he would kind of just go, it doesn't matter as long as you're working. It doesn't matter. You just got to keep working. He once said to me, he goes, I don't give a fuck if every comedy club closes tomorrow. I'll go back on the street and I'll still be happy. And he meant it too. And
he did.
He was that kind of a comic. He did enjoy making people laugh.
So he was he was happy just to get by if he was doing what he enjoyed rather than making millions of dollars. He would rather.
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely, he wasn't in it for the money. He was in it for the art of comedy. And, like I'm always talking, and I talk to people all the time about him, and I put, I write down and say, here, check this out on YouTube and stuff. Because he was a real artist and a throwback. He would have fit in any era. You could have put him back in. If you could have taken a time machine and put him back in the 20s, he would have worked vaudeville and he would have been a hit then. He was that type of a guy.
Yeah, he came across as that kind of guy. He really did.
He liked the money. Don't get me wrong.
No.
he enjoyed having the money, but it wasn't the thing that drove him.
Right.
Driving him was making people laugh.
Do you think it ever really bothered him at all that he wasn't like exactly a household name like he should have been?
Yeah, that was one of the things that people say is that he should have been more famous.
Absolutely should have been more well known.
I think it did in the beginning, not in the beginning, but for a while in the 80s, that whole big thing with Dice, Dice taking his nursery rhymes and stuff. I think it kind of bugged him then, but after a while, I think that drifted away. And
I think he more enjoyed the fact that people like David Copperfield and Louis C.K. and Louis Black all knew who he was and admired him. And I remember at one of the Virus shows, one of the ones that right here at PNC in New Jersey, Louis Black was performing, and he was in his bus sleeping, and he left instructions when Otto came on to let him know, and he came out of the bus and watched Otto. I was standing right there. He came to the side, in the audience, to the side of the stage, and watched Otto, and that was the only performance Louis came out to watch. And it was things like that meant a lot to Otto.
Another cool thing I remember about that show is actually he invited all of us back to your house after that. That's how cool of a guy he was. All the crew of O&A, all of us. He said, "Hey, well, you guys want to come back and drink?"
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that'd be cool.
That was Otto.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
and
there was
no
one
offense
time...
to you guys, he doesn't invite Louis Black and Louis C.K. over. He invites you guys over.
Right.
Yeah.
now, obviously,
the dream team.
Obviously, he obviously battled with some different things through the years. Was he over all of that towards the end, or was he still having a bit of trouble with his demons?
Well, his demons were part of him. That's what is what made his sense of humor, is what made George,
right.
In my opinion,
Well, hey, you're the most important opinion, right? As far as he's concerned. Of
course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was, I don't ever talk about it. There was one time where he was getting carried away, and I had said to him, listen, I lost my brother to drugs. I'm not going to lose my best friend. And we didn't speak for a good 6-7 months because he was just getting too into it. And then he just calls me up and he goes, I'm not that way anymore. And he did try to straighten himself out, but but it was a necessary evil to be the way he was, you know.
It might have also been his way of coping with, you know, being famous more. You know, he loved the act, but he was kind of weird, I guess. Not many people get to be in that situation where people love you, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know, it's funny. I had turned him on to, I'm an old hippie. I turned him on to the Grateful Dead. And he admired, Otto was very, very smart. He was a high school dropout, but he was very intelligent, and he used to read a lot. And he would study it. And he came back, like, after we went to the
and remember it. And he wouldn't, you know, anything that he would read or he would remember and be able to recall it and have a conversation about it too.
I think a lot of famous people that have made it in this kind of business are high school dropouts. It's not about education. It's learning your craft and learning how to make people laugh. You can't go to school for that.
But one thing he always pushed on me was to read a lot of books. He gave me a lot of books to read. And I'm a terrible reader. I have, you know, learning disabilities, but that's something else. But I had said this to him. I said, you know, you'll like Jerry Garcia because they had the same demons, but they were totally self-taught in their art, and they never let money drive them. You know, Otto was like that. Garcia was like that. They never let money get in the way of what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I think you know, obviously Trish would know way better than I do. Even Andrew would know better than me. But you know, it's like I get the impression that he was happy. He had somewhere nice to live. You know, he had a nice wife, and he was happy. He didn't want a mansion somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That was his mansion.
Right.
He always said, you know, as long as he had enough money in his pocket to buy, you know, him and I a steak dinner. You know, he considered that rich. You know, like that was enough. Like, what do you need more than that for?
Yeah, Big A's similar. He just likes someone else to have enough money to buy him a steak dinner.
It's big. If you're talking about Big A, it would be 3 steak dinners.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew.
Actually,
sorry, Andrew. I love you.
That's right, Trish.
No, he's all right. He did okay at the buffet in Vegas, though. I gotta say.
Yep.
He's had Big A.
Oh yeah.
Both Big and me have lost quite a bit of weight. Big A's actually down 60 pounds right now. And if you take him to a buffet,
I know, I saw him the other day. He looks good.
Yeah. Yep. If you take him to a buffet when he's in Vegas, he might shoot you. You
know? Yeah, no, we already said next time he's there, we're not going to go there.
Next month.
He's coming next month.
I'm coming, actually.
What, tomorrow?
No. Next month.
He'll come tomorrow. If you got a spare room, he'll come tomorrow.
No, next month.
That's funny.
No, Big A's easy. He'll take a couch.
He'll take a couch and $1. So Trish, what is your favorite memory of Otto?
I actually have a really good one.
Okay.
We were at the Coney Island Aquarium one time, and we're standing in front of this big glass, obviously it's an aquarium, a big glass wall with fish behind it, and this huge fish with its mouth agape just came slowly drifting up to the window, like right at our face. And Otto just went, just out of nowhere. It was so stupid. It's not even really funny. He just went, "Hello, stupid." And everybody just started, because it really had a stupid look on his face. And everybody just started laughing. And, you know, I said, "Oh, you're killing it at the aquarium. That's great." And then a few minutes later, this guy came walking over, and he had been an intern at Opie and Anthony Show, and he recognized Otto's voice. He didn't recognize Otto's face. And he was just, you know, he's like, "Oh, so cool to see, you know, blah, blah, blah." And Otto was just so nice to him. We sat and talked for like 5 minutes or whatever. But just that "hello, stupid," I think about that sometimes. And it's one of those things, you know, that you just laugh, "Hello, stupid." You know, like every time I think about it, it makes me laugh.
it's so weird to all of us because you obviously had a completely different relationship, and even Andrew had a different relationship to a lot of us.
Right.
Andrew would always tell me, "Oh, I'm going to see Otto. I'm going to see Otto." And he was a big...
I know, because I've seen Otto many times, and
well, I'm talking more about his house. Socially,
Oh yeah.
Anyone can go see him stand up. But
right.
I'm saying you guys know Otto the way we don't know him.
And Andrew did a lot of was on the pig roast a lot with him and got to hang out with him a lot there too.
Yeah, him and Patrice are sorely missed right now. You know what I mean? They were both, they were both unique.
Definitely, yes.
There wasn't enough. There's not another Otto out there. I mean, that kind of act.
Right.
There's no one doing his act right now.
No one.
That's surprising for comics. I mean, usually they go, "Oh, he's gone. I could do his act. He won't. He won't care."
No one could ever pull it off. No one could pull it off.
One.
Even if they ripped off the material and did the whole thing, joke for joke, they could never do it.
Stealing from him would be like, stealing from Colin. Like, as soon as you said it, people would go, "Oh man, come on." I mean, who can get away with saying cock 75 times and make it work?
That's hilarious. Yeah.
I always told him I could tell how much fun he was having on stage. And that's really what it was about for him. Was about him having fun on stage, and then that would make the show better. And the longer he drew out cock, when he was going a cock, he was really having fun with it. But, if he just said it like really brief, then he would just want to get the fuck off stage, like he was done at that point, and just want to do his, 40 or 50 minutes and get the hell off.
I wonder, you and Andrew probably know way better than me, but I mean, how, he probably has some material that he uses, every show for a certain amount of time, just like every other comedian. But how much of the predefined material did he even get out in a show? It sounds to me like he did a little bit, and then he'd just go off, and every show would be unique at that point, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. And one of his favorite things to do, Andrew knows, he would do things just for us, and like something we were talking about on the way to the show, or he loved to make fun of Andrew.
Doesn't everybody?
It always made me laugh. I mean. I mean, it was always, great,
You know what? Your best friends can tell you you're a piece of shit and laugh about it. That's how you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
If someone,
right.
Yeah. So.
It's funny
did he do that with you, John? Would he do that back then? Even?
Yeah. There was one time when, I had tried to book some rooms, and I got this place called the Queen's Theater, which was an old vaudeville place. And so I booked Dave Hawthorne, Richie Triola, Chips. I got everybody, I got the gang together,
Chips Cooney.
And the guy said it's going to be a variety thing. There'll be a couple of music acts, and it was a horror. We were the only white people there in between rap artists. It was just a horror. And he used to bring up the Queen's Theater, like while we're on stage. And nobody knew what he was talking about except for me.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did Otto, could he ad-lib that well that he could actually get away with entertaining a whole black crowd? He could actually pull it off?
He could, if he wanted to, he could, but, if he looked and he'd go, "This is hopeless." The only one who actually did well was Hawthorne. Because he just did that whole walrus thing, and
Yeah, he was very, very neutral, very funny. Almost like a Charlie Callis. You probably guys don't know who Dave Hawthorne is, but like a Charlie Callis type. Like he liked to play with sounds and words. You know what I mean? Like it didn't really, it wasn't really race specific. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So was George his alter ego?
I don't know, really. A lot of people, and I heard a lot of these stories, and it was all bullshit, where people said that it was his alter ego, and, he'd take George out, and
yeah, no.
But that was all bullshit, because...
he would never shoot down those stories. He liked when people would say stuff like that, but it would never, like George was never out of the case around the house, unless Otto was washing his clothes.
Oh.
You know.
So he never put him like in the bed next to you and hid under the bed. So.
No. But one of the first nights that we met, Otto was staying at my house in Hoboken. He stayed over, and I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and he must have reached. George was in the duffel bag at this point. He must have gone in the bag to get something, and I came out, and George's hand was sticking out of the duffel bag at like 4:00 in the morning in my living room. I was like, it just like freaked me out, I'm like, oh, shit, what the fuck? But that was purely coincidental. That was not on purpose.
Right. It's just funny. He sounds like he sounds like the kind of guy that might do that, just for the laugh,
He would do it as a goof. I had asked him one time if I could see George. And he goes, really? You want to? And I said, yeah. How you make it work and all that? And so he went, all right. And he takes it out, and he takes George out and he unwraps it and he shows me, where you put the hands and everything. And he goes, okay, I'll leave you two alone right now.
That's funny because that's pretty much opposite of the first time me and Big A met Otto. We wanted to get a photo with him and George. And he'd already put George away in the box, and he pretty much told us to fuck off.
That's like the cringe humor.
Yeah, that sounds like Otto.
Cringe humor.
That's Otto right there.
He's like, it's in the fucking box now.
I'll tell you, I got to tell you this story. One time we worked. It was out in Hop Hog, and it was a King Broder. I don't know if you know who King Broder is, but he's the guy who. Yeah, he sued Eddie Murphy because he had a contract before Murphy was famous. But he books it, and it was a big corporate party. And first we go on stage, and the guy wanted to introduce Otto. Otto just made Comedy's Dirtiest Dozen. And the guy couldn't remember the name. He kept going through like all of these different things, and we were just making fun of the guy. Because he couldn't remember Comedy's Dirty. He goes, 12 Angry Comics. No, that's not it. A dozen bad comedians. No, 12 Angry Toilets. So finally, he gets it on, and he's doing well. And one of the corporate guys was about as big as Barney Fife. He was like just a little bald-headed, 125-pound guy. Has a trophy wife that is absolutely gorgeous. And she walks past the stage, and comedians, you don't want a distraction. You don't want a busboy carrying, anything. And she just like saunters past him. So of course, George says something. How are you? And she starts talking, and he goes, "Fucking broad believes I'm real." Walks past. 3 minutes later, the guy comes out. And he walks past, he goes to the buffet, he takes a couple of things, and he walks right up to Otto, and he goes, "Did you call my wife a fucking broad?" And Otto kind of forgot about it. It was a quick ad lib, He goes, "No, I didn't." He goes, "You called my wife a fucking broad." And he goes, "No." So I started moving over to, sort of diffuse the whole situation. And I'm going, "Come on, buddy, take it easy." And he goes, and he steps up onto the stage. So I get in between, and Otto has this look like, no, you misunderstood. I didn't say it. The dummy said it. And the guy looks down, and then he pops George like over my shoulder. And George goes, "Yeah, I said it. What's it to you?" And now the guy starts arguing with George, and we're on stage, and I'm trying to hold him back. Other people come rushing over, and goes, "You!" And he's going, and I turn to George, and I go, "Would you shut up?"
Not helping. Not helping.
Didn't someone stab George one time?
Yeah, when he was in the street, somebody stabbed.
Yeah.
Somebody. He was making fun of the guy, a Puerto Rican guy, and he was making fun of him that he was ugly, and Otto said to George, and he goes, "Come on, stop that! Apologize." And George went, "Okay, I'm sorry you're ugly." Pulled like a switchblade out and goes, "I cut you." And he stabbed him, and he cut Otto's hand. He like stabbed him in the chest.
Wow.
Yeah, stabbed
that
George
made the New York Times, I believe, didn't it, John?
Yeah.
Was that Otto's first piece of big press?
Probably.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, he played in a place called Good Times also, where a lot of entertainers went, a lot of Broadway people and stuff. And he had a different dummy at one time named Phil. And I think this was Phil, or either that or an early George, and it got stolen. And they wrote about it that it was.
That made the paper too, yeah.
Yeah, because that was the first time I heard of him. When I first started, and then then we met at Pips. But
I think, I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I think I have all those articles in Otto's scrapbook, and one of these days when I can get the hard up to get them all together, I'm going to scan everything and put them all on his website.
Yeah, you should.
I think he would have done that anyway, right. Otto, eventually. Yeah. So it's too painful for me still right now to even go through all of this stuff,
I never realized, until I started to know the guy, that he'd actually been around so long.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He never had a job.
He had one job for 3 weeks, John.
Yeah, for 3 weeks. And
before he got fired. He got shit canned. Yeah.
What was the job?
He said it consisted of buzzing people in to in the garment district. He had to buzz them into the office and make them sign a piece of paper. And that's pretty much all he knew what he was doing there. He got it because his girlfriend at the time wanted him to have a job. And he lasted 3 weeks, and he's like, "This is not for me." And I think he got fired.
he probably answered the door with George's voice on the intercom. You fucking bitch, what do you want?
You ain't coming in here.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were in the Bronx, and we were there with a former wrestler named Memphis Mike, and
I met him.
Oh yeah, you with the Elvis guy with all the tattoos.
Yes, I met him at Coney Island. When I met him, he was working at a pizza joint on Coney Island.
His career worked out well then.
Well, Otto goes on, and it was a theater that was turned into a nightclub, and it was all heavy Hispanic place, and this guy is sitting with two girls, and he's trying to make time with them, and as long as Otto got a laugh, he kept it up, and he just kept calling these two, with the tits are hanging out and everything, and he's just going, "Whores, throw your legs open," but they're laughing, and now you're stepping on the guy's rap. Now the guy can't talk to the girls, and he walks up the aisle, and then he comes running down and grabs a chair and he throws it at Otto on stage.
Oh my God!
And the chair winds up hitting the mic stand, so Otto didn't get hit, and it deflects, but the mic broke. And I grabbed the manager right away, and I went, "We want to pay now." And I grabbed the check out of the guy's hand, and I run on stage, and I went, "Otto, come on, I got the pay, let's go." And Otto goes, "No, I could win him back."
Oh, wow.
Now the bouncer grabs the guy. The guy's friend grabs the bouncer, so there's like a fist fight, right in front of the stage. And I'm going.
And Otto's still performing?
And he's trying to perform, and he's going, "I could win him back." And I went, "Fuck this place, man. We got to get out of here. It's filled with Puerto Ricans. They threw a chair. Next is knives and guns. They're shooting at us."
And they haven't got to get up. They haven't got to get up in the mornings because none of them have got a job. So.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true, Paul.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's so many memories you guys have. It's just unreal,
Oh God, I have 100 of them. I put a couple on the website. Just because they're fun memories. I could go on
the guest book. The guest book on his website, John. Is that what you're talking about? The guest book on OttoandGeorge.com?
Let's get the plug.
Yeah, I put one on there when when I was his lawyer. He got busted for pot, and it wasn't his. That's the whole thing. It was some other guys, and he said, "Don't smoke. We're in Jersey." So the guy lights a joint, and in like 10 seconds, the cops pull him over, and they arrest everybody. And Otto calls me up, and he says, "I got to go to court. Could you take me?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Now, this was the 90s. It was like around 91, 92. And we go there, and it's night court, and it's a little tiny courthouse and everything. And the judge goes through everybody, and they says, "Anybody we didn't call?" And I stand up, and I go, "You didn't call Otto Peterson?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah, okay, marijuana." And he goes, "Okay, how do you plead?" And he goes, "Not guilty, it wasn't mine." And he says, "Okay, well, bring a lawyer." And I stand up and I go, "He doesn't have a lawyer. He's not employed." And he goes, "What do you mean he's not employed?" And I went, "Well, he's a street performer." And he goes, "So? He makes money on the street." And I says, "Yeah, but he needs legal aid." And he goes, and the judge goes, "Wait a minute, who the hell are you?" And I says, "I'm his manager." And he goes, "He's a street performer and he has a manager?" And I says, "Well, we all got to start somewhere."
The wheels kind of fell off at that point, right?
He goes,
"We can't put anything past the judge."
Yeah, really. And so he says, "Well, he makes money on the street performing. Have him make some money and get a lawyer." And I went, "I can't. You confiscated his dummy." And the judge, he takes off his glasses and he looks at me and he goes, "Okay, I want to run this by one more time. He's a street performer that has a manager." I went, "Right?" And he goes, "But he can't perform because we have his mannequin." And I went, "His dummy." And he goes, "Yeah, whatever." And he looks at me and he goes, "Are there any batteries in that pager that you're wearing on your belt?" And I go, "Well, I got batteries." So he wound up, he says, "You know what? Case dismissed."
He was so confused, he dismissed it? That's fantastic.
Yeah, really.
He just looked at us and he goes, "Somebody give him back his dummy."
But let me tell you something, John. That came back to haunt him. About 5 or 6 years ago, Otto decided he wanted to get his driver's license. And we went down to DMV, and that was still on his record. And I believe he had to pay.
They didn't dismiss it. Yeah, they didn't dismiss it. He had to pay like $50 or something like that. It was ridiculous.
It was still on his record like 20 years later or whatever.
They won't let you have a driving license if you had some pot 20 years ago?
See, that shows you kids don't do drugs.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's right.
Really? Oh my God, you guys have so many stories, man. I could just ask and ask and ask at this point. Andrew, what's your favorite memory of Otto? We'll get back to you. No, I'm kidding.
Think about it. Work on it.
While he's thinking, just to drive home, just how fucking sweet of a guy Otto was. The first time I met him was through Conti and Kenny, who I just interviewed for the film in the exact spot Otto did the interview for the Aristocrats. Mm-hmm. Penn Jillette's movie. So we were walking back from the radio studio. It was me, Conti, Kenny, and Otto. And I had been a huge, giant Otto fan since Opie and Anthony, 15, 16, listening to O&A and hearing him. So we're walking back from the studio, and I'm like kind of nervous because, meeting this guy, and just like I hang out. And like as a joke, I go, "So, like, you want to maybe go hang out and see a movie sometime?" And just straight face, "I don't really know what's playing these days." I'm kidding. Like he was thinking, like maybe we can go. Like,
shit, I would have gone to watch Annie with him. I don't give a fuck. Let's go.
Like he was actually out loud going, "I don't know what's playing." I'm like, "Dude, I don't expect you to know."
He would have gone.
Yeah. Such a
that's
guy.
him.
Such a sweetheart. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I have a favorite memory of Big A and Otto and me.
I don't want to know about the gang, the freeway. I don't want to know.
No. It was nothing like that. But we were talking. Actually, Otto wasn't even there, and I was talking to Andrew about something, and and I said something to the effect like, "Oh yeah, I remember that night. Otto and I were in a big fight." And Andrew starts going, sis, you know, Andrew. Sis.
No,
and I thought he was going to say something
that?
like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that," or whatever. And all of a sudden, Andrew just goes, sis. So what else is new? And I'm like, all right, he pretty much nailed that one on the head, you know. I think we were pretty well known for not always getting along, Otto and I.
Yeah, that goes back to the first day, you know, that we hung out, you know, when he told me off for making a joke about Big A. You told him off for being mad at me, and then there's a big thing, and we're all sitting there, and Otto's upstairs doing whatever the hell he's doing, and we're like looking at each other uncomfortably, like, oh, okay. And then like 15 minutes later, he came back, and we're all cool, and you know, everything's fine, and I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. Hey, who cares, right? He was a good guy, right? Everyone fights. If I didn't fight with my wife, we wouldn't have this fucking podcast. So, you know.
you know, Otto and I only had one fight, and that was it. We only had one real disagreement. But we'd hang up on each other every once in a while. You know, he'd hang up on me when I was getting like, you know, a little ridiculous. But he was an artist, you know, so we kind of overlooked those sort of things. And all it was like on directions, and he took out a cigarette to light up in the car, and I went, "No smoking in my car." And he goes, "Why not?" And I went, "Because I said so." Because we were like two kids. And he went, "Oh yeah?" And he lights it. And I stop and I pop my trunk and I grab George and I'm about to throw him into a field.
Oh my God.
He goes, okay,
you know what you would have
okay,
done? You know what you would have done?
And that was it. That was the only fight we ever had. I didn't even know what we were arguing about, but we were like two little kids, you know. You can't do that in my car.
John, what was your last great memory of him? I don't want to even talk about, you know, the thing at the end. I just want to know what your last great memory of him was.
Well, the last time I seen him actually was going with Copperfield, you know, into Copperfield's museum.
Oh wow!
And seeing George, and Copperfield was like so proud of that, and he said he had brought what's the guy? Jeff Dunham.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he brought Jeff Dunham and Dunham seen George, and he goes, "You have the original George?" He was like, "You know, you got all of these masters. You got, you know, Lamb Chop and you know, Bergen's, all of Bergen's stuff there," and he goes over to Otto and George. You know, so
yeah, Copperfield said, Dunham was most impressed by having the original George.
That's so wild. It's so wild.
Than any of the other ones.
You know what? I mean, I can't even compare to it, but you know, it's like it's surprising who knows you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He wasn't, you know, a really really famous guy as far as he gave the impression, but everybody knows who he is.
Yeah, especially entertainers.
Right.
You know, especially people who are in the business. They all knew him. You know, like Pips was always special to me, and it was special to him also.
Right.
Because it was just one of those solid places. It was like, you know, it was like the Fillmore of comedy at one time.
How long did that place last before it closed up? I'm assuming it's closed now, right?
Yeah, it closed. I think it closed in like 2005, but it opened in '62. Oh, wow. It opened when Kennedy was president.
Huh. Wow. Who were the most famous people that started there, along with?
Oh my God.
Everybody.
Joan Rivers, Rodney Dangerfield, George Carlin.
Oh wow.
Robert Klein. Steve Landesberg.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So I didn't realize it was that.
Yeah, Brenner. The list is endless.
David Brenner. Wow. Robert Klein and David Brenner were both at John, you weren't there, at Marty Schultz's memorial in Brooklyn.
They came? Yeah.
Yeah, they were both there, and they both spoke, and very nice. Otto, you know, didn't really go up and speak to any of them just because it was such a somber occasion or whatever, but, you know, just the fact that, you know, that just goes to show, you know, two huge names that started there that still stay close to the family, you know?
Yeah, I mean, everybody was there. Elaine Boozler was there. You know, so many people. I met Jackie Mason one time. He just was sitting out there. He knew George. He went up to see George, and then he just came down, and him and George were just sitting having ice cream out in front.
Wow. You know. Now was that
two old Jews having ice cream?
Yeah, 2 Jews.
They probably bought one and shared it.
Now, you guys really know him from Opie and Anthony, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean that's where
That's how I was first introduced.
Yeah, I mean that definitely brought his name to the younger people that didn't know who he was. I mean, you guys knew him because you grew up with that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I was the one that heard when Opie and Anthony seen him out in Jersey, and I had called Otto as soon as I heard because they were talking about him, and I said, "Hey, these guys on the radio." I told Opie, "Do you know who they are?" And he goes, "Yeah." And that's when he used to do what's his name, Stern,
right.
all the time.
Howard Stern. Mm-hmm.
And then I said, "These guys they love you, man." I said, "You got to call," and then he calls me up and he goes, "Hey, I'm going to be on this show." and he liked going on there. He really enjoyed it. He
loved those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't crazy about Stern because Stern, his big nose is up his own ass
exactly.
all the time.
My favorite thing I noticed about Otto is when he went on without George, it was a whole different thing. They made fun of him and he didn't really fight back. But when he had George with him, he'd beat the shit out of him. You know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I used to ask him, "You going on the radio? Do you got to take George?" And he goes, "Yeah, I can't just do it. What am I going to do? Hold my hand up?"
Yeah, he's like, "I'm on the radio. I don't need the dummy, right?" Remember he used to say that sometimes? He'd be like, "I'm on the radio. What do I need the dummy for?" And then he'd find out.
Can't you just do the voice?
Yeah.
I know he would.
He said he could never get the voice right if he wasn't actually holding the puppet.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I think it was a big relief to him too when he started getting close with those guys, and he didn't have to bring George up anymore.
Right.
That it was one. He wasn't crazy about schlepping that trunk around. He used to say about, Chips had a joke, Chips Cooney, because Chips started out as a drummer, and he would say, the worst of why he stopped being a musician, Chips, was because of packing up the gear at the end of the night. And he said the harmonica player put the harmonica in his pocket and was getting laid while Chips was still packing up his drums. That's why he stopped, why he went into comedy. And Otto Chips,
right.
Cooney.
Yeah, yeah.
And Otto felt the same way, a lot of times about.
It's weird you mentioned Chips because I never heard of him until I think it was Last Comic Stand he was on, right?
Right.
No.
America's Got
Talent.
Oh, right.
Talent, yes.
Honestly, I'd never heard. I mean, maybe because I grew up in England and I didn't move here till '94. I don't know if I missed the boat completely. I didn't realize Chips had been around that long.
Oh, yeah.
The same amount of time.
Oh, yeah. Chip's been one. Actually, I met Chips before I even met Otto.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I met him about 3 months before because, before I got the courage to go up on an open mic, I would hang around Pips all the time. And, then I just started talking to him and Richie Triola. And I didn't, like I said, Otto met me. I didn't meet him. He's the one that came over to me.
Now, I just thought it's kind of weird to me that, this big club is in Brooklyn. Were there any New York clubs at the time or was Pips,
Oh, well, Pips was the actual first comedy club. They opened up 6 months before the Improv.
Oh, really?
Oh.
And then after the Improv had opened up, but there was no place that was just for comedians. And George Schultz is the guy who started it. And he wanted it for a place for guys to work out. And he was a comedian, and he used to do the Borscht Belt up in New York, upstate New York. And he was friends with all the old guys, Buddy Hackett and Lenny Bruce and those. Matter of fact, Lenny, and he showed it to me in he had all these old calendars, all the people that played, and he showed me that Lenny was penciled in just before he died, about 3 weeks before he
Oh,
died.
really?
Yeah. And because he said, "Why don't you work the club? You never worked the club." And Lenny said, "They're going to bust me as soon as I go on stage." And George went, so odd, we'll be out tomorrow. We'll be out the next day. But he wanted to work there. He wanted Lenny to work there, and probably for the publicity, you know. But it wasn't a big club. It sat 125 maybe.
Yeah, it was kind of small. They changed the layout a couple of times too. Sometimes they moved the stage around.
Yeah, when I first went there, when I first hung out, there was no big bar there. It was just a little service bar. And then I think Marty was the one that put in the big bar to have more people there, more people drinking.
Who was it that started that club?
George Schultz was the original. Now you wouldn't know who George Schultz is. George gave it to his sons Seth and Marty to run. Seth was a very talented filmmaker. His youngest son, who he worked with. He worked on a couple of things, but he never made it, and it was a shame. He wound up taking his own life, but he was really just an amazing guy. He understood the movie business, and
if you go on Otto's YouTube channel, we posted Otto wanted me to post because Otto obviously didn't do his own YouTube postings. I helped him with that. The Kubrick Fan and Ollie, which Seth made, which is hysterical. And you were in that, right, John?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm the only one. Me and Otto, we're the only ones that could see Doldini. You got to see it. You guys got to watch it to know what I'm talking about. But it's the baptism in the Godfather, and we all kind of just chipped in and kind of changed it a little. It's a classic.
It's so funny. It's so great, and Seth did such a good job on it. It looks like a professional film.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of pros, a lot of big time people seen it. Jack Lemmon wrote him a letter. Shelley Winters wrote him, about it. Didn't like it, said it was very vulgar, but
it's so funny.
By the way, George Schultz is famous for something. If you know Rodney Dangerfield's tag, which was no respect, that was George Schultz's idea.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And George gave it to him, and Rodney wrote him a check for $1,000 and said, now quit telling people that he wrote that.
Sign the non-disclaimer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he went on, like, Mike Douglas, which was a daytime TV show, like a variety show, way back in the 60s. And he said he had mentioned that, like around 1968, 69.
Wow.
He goes, that's my bread and butter.
I know. Didn't Tim Allen mention Otto?
Yeah.
Tim mentioned Otto on Craig Ferguson's show. He quoted him.
Yeah.
I
exaggerate to
they were
clarify.
in they were in Comedy's Dirtiest Dozen together. And Tim actually wound up loving that line so much, he paid Otto for it. He didn't want to keep, because he was an honest, he didn't want to take anybody's material, so he would always quote Otto before he said it. And then eventually, he gave Otto money for it. And so he doesn't quote him anymore. But yeah, definitely. He got that from Comedy's Dirtiest Dozen. George said that.
Yeah, that's right. Because I didn't see when they filmed it, but I went to all the rehearsals, and that's when they were on Morton Downey. They were at Rascals. The whole crew did everything there, and a lot of the two biggest were three was besides Otto, Tim Allen, Chris Rock was in that, Jackie Martling. It was a stepping stone for sure.
Wasn't who was the other guy that was in that?
A dozen.
The guy that passed away from cancer.
Oh yeah.
Why can't I think of his name right now? You know who I'm talking about, John.
Yeah, I do. God.
The guy from the brain.
Oh, no,
that was AIDS.
No, the guy who the famous. I mean, everybody loves him.
Raymond?
He's so famous we can't remember his name.
Well, no, I'm just terrible with names. Otto, I would always drive Otto nuts with this. I'd be like, the guy from the suit, and he wore a tie that time. Anyway, he was in it as well. Comedy's Dirtiest Dozen.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a look. Just to see. This is right. I'm living in the past anyway. But
so, Trish, do you have like a bunch of old VHS tapes with tons of his performances on that no one's seen right now?
I do, and I put some up on YouTube. And actually, just the other day in the mail, a guy that worked with Otto in Vegas mailed me a DVD, and I haven't looked at it yet. Otto and George live at the Riviera, January 2000.
Wow.
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to put it up on YouTube. I'm going to watch it and pull some. I won't put the whole thing up, but I'll probably pull some chunks. People won't watch a whole thing on YouTube, but I'll pull some selects and put them up.
Well, they tore down the Riviera in May, I believe.
Yeah, it's still up, but it's closed.
Okay.
They just closed it. I'm in Vegas, so it's. They closed it down. I wanted to get there, and just to take pictures. There's no more. There's only a few places left, from the old days. Circus, the Tropicana, the Flamingo, but it's not the same.
The Riviera is how Otto knew Steve Sciarippa. Sciarippa booked that room, and he told that famous story where Sciarippa booked Otto the same weekend that Jeff Dunham was playing the big room at the Riviera, right. And they got into a big fight, and Sciarippa screamed something at him, "If you don't shut up right now, I'm going to kill everybody in this fucking hotel and put puppets in every fucking room."
I'll put a puppet in every fucking room.
Yeah, and they just started laughing, like it totally diffused the fight,
Going back to what Big A said, he's been to Vegas for 2 days out of his whole life, and he thinks he's some kind of fucking expert on the place, so...
Oh, really?
Sounds like you, Paul.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they cut the Riviera down, and the wins are 10% off right now. I can get you a coupon.
Jackass.
I got a 2-for-1 at the
buffet. They've got the Jewish special. You sleep from 8 to 10. The next guy's in from 10 to 12. The next guy's in from 10 to 2. Trish, Trish, what is your last great memory of Otto? I don't want to hear the bad part at the end, So.
It was actually the last good memory was the last performance that I went to him with was a fundraiser in Woodbridge and for an animal shelter or something like that.
Right.
And the way the room was laid out, it was like a ballroom type situation. And the way the room was laid out, there was a lobby in the back of the room with the lights on, and then the showroom with all the lights off. And I didn't want to go in the room and take up a seat because I wasn't obviously paying for the fundraiser. But the way I guess I was standing, I was silhouetted from the light in the lobby. And right in the back of the room, I was standing. So George said something like, "Jesus Christ, I got to look at Trish's dumb head the whole fucking night," or something like that. And nobody in the audience, nobody got it or whatever, but I was laughing. I thought it was funny, but that was a typical...
It for you, that's why.
How many years were you married to him?
We were together for 15 years, and I don't know, probably 8 years.
Okay.
Technically, we weren't married, but, we lived together for 8 years.
All right.
But we called each other husband and wife.
We don't care. You were together long enough.
Yeah.
It's common law.
Yeah.
Yeah. We earned that, I think, title from each other.
Yeah. At least if one of you left, you wouldn't have got half, so that's about the only difference.
When remember when you came and we went to Penn and Teller and you were here in Vegas? And
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I kept trying to get Otto to take you to the chapel.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, funny.
This is why you don't know. This is why you don't know.
And he goes, no, not right now. And I says, well, come on, we can do it, man. I said,
I had no idea.
We could go in, and he goes, really? And I went, yeah. And he goes, no, not right now. But I did try to get him. I says, I'll pay for your wedding. Come on, do it.
The chapel's
Come on, do it.
You're 2 blocks away. Oh, no, I don't feel like it right now. It's a block away. Come on, let's go.
No, I can't do that right now.
Wow.
but there was, that was a great, and it's funny because Penn and Teller mentioned him about 3 times on stage.
He got introduced. Penn, obviously Teller didn't, but Penn introduced him from the stage. Sure.
Did he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he ever get to hear Teller speak?
Sorry?
Did he ever hear Teller speak?
We did.
Oh, yeah.
We went backstage. Very nice guy.
Right, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. He's a wonderful guy. He really is.
I like their shows. I do like their shows.
And Penn yelled at me.
About what?
Yeah. And it pissed Otto off.
Yeah, Otto got really mad about it, as a matter of fact.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Because he said the story about the dog. The guy was a ventriloquist, and he used to use a dog, and he had a wire to make the dog's mouth move. And you went, did it hurt the dog? And Penn yelled at Trish, going, "It's a fucking dog. Who cares?"
Yeah, the children starving in China. It's just a fucking dog. Nobody cares. And I felt like I shrank to like 2 inches tall. I just was mortified. You know, the next day, Otto and I were laughing about it. I said to him, "I got yelled at by a major television star last night."
And then after that,
and that made Otto laugh. But
I guess after that,
it upset him.
Yeah, Otto got to be on his TV shows after that, right?
It was after that.
Before that. Yeah, he was on a few times. Well, yeah, that's right. After that, he was on also.
Yeah, he did the
Penn and Teller was
bullshit. The bullshit.
Yeah. Good reading there, Joe, on the paper in front of you.
That's when Trish.
Cheater.
Yeah.
Trish, that's when I told you the joke because we saw the Sphinx. Remember? And I told you. They always show the front of the Sphinx. They never show you the back of the Sphinx. You know why? Because the Sphinx back there.
Oh my God, I could go on for hours with this. I don't know if you guys, want to get going, but
Well, it's only 7 o'clock to me, and I got no life. So.
I wanted to ask Trish on OttoandGeorge.com. Can people still get like the Craig Cefola films, like Telecrappies and?
You can still buy his DVDs through his website, yeah, for sure. And Marshall Burrell helps me sell them. He actually does all the distribution and the mailing from Florida. Marshall is Milton Berle's nephew, who is also a manager.
Wow.
And he actually managed that band Rat in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that band? Remember Milton Berle was in their video? Dressed as a woman? That's why, because Marshall was their manager. So he got his uncle to make a cameo in one of their videos. But Marshall's a great guy, and he helps me. But if you go to OttoandGeorge.com, it takes you a link to Marshall's website, and you can get the T-shirts still, and
the new,
the DVDs that has Cefola's film on there. And I think Kubrick's Fran and Ollie, the video we were just talking about, is on Otto's DVD as well.
Awesome.
That's cool.
I'm almost positive.
And the In Concert album, which is fucking great.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was the one that came out after Otto passed away. Marshall helped me put that together.
Is that a DVD or a CD?
That's a CD.
Oh, okay.
It was a pretty cool story how it came about. It was pretty much found, right? I mean,
yes, I found it. Otto recorded a show. Coke Logic, who wanted to animate the Pope bit. The Pope wrote cunt.
Yeah.
And so Otto and I got a little recorder, and Otto recorded 2 shows at Governor's. I think it's Governor's out on Long Island. Right. And then promptly we got the audio to Coke Logic. He did the animation, and then Otto promptly lost the recorder. Typical Otto. Couldn't find it. He went to use it again. And then after Otto passed away, I found it, believe it or not. And lo and behold, there was the show. So
That's
I
awesome.
called up Marshall and sent it to him, and he put the CD out in a couple of days. Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
Great.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing how this stuff can get out now. You think about 20, 30 years ago, you know, it was only word of mouth between people.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can send somebody a video clip in 2 seconds on YouTube, and then
Right.
you know, I'm sure his fame grew. You know, when he went on O&A, and then people started posting O&A clips. You know, it's just such a shame that more people didn't know him. You know,
a lot of people I've heard from, you know, say they've actually only heard about him after he passed away, and you know what a shame it is that you know they didn't get to see him. You know, so it's nice to know that you know people are still, and Otto would appreciate that people are still enjoying his that he's still making people laugh.
More than ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course.
You know, yeah, and his life is a story to be told.
Absolutely.
I mean, you guys have to do the book.
Really
you
is.
have to do a book. I mean, I don't. I mean, you guys between you can pretty much put that together. I'm sure.
You know.
Well, he started writing a book, Otto, after he did Unmasked with Ron Bennington. You know, Ron told him after the interview, Ron's like, "You got to do a one-man show. You got to get all this stuff down in writing." And Otto started writing, and he never let me read any of it. And he didn't get too much of it done. I think Otto was such a perfectionist. He only wrote down like 2 or 3 stories instead of like just kind of blasting through his whole thing, blasting through like his whole life. He just did a couple of 2 or 3 incidents, you know, that he had. And one of them was, I believe, the time he met Yul Brynner.
Wow.
Yeah.
And maybe the other one was the time he met. They were all his street performance stories. Like that's where he was starting at the beginning. Unfortunately, Otto didn't get too much of it written.
Right.
But yeah, his life is a story. You're right.
Yeah, I read that book.
Yeah, and
Of course.
you know, I used to even say this when he was still alive. I said, your life should be a movie, and not a documentary, but like a real movie that's put together well. You know, sort of like the way Petit put, you know, people put the story about Petit's walk across the World Trade Center.
Oh, the walk?
Only it could be of his whole life. I mean, from everything.
Yeah.
You know,
the problem with movies is you can only fit so much in the time. You know what I mean? I think a book would be a lot better, just in the fact that you could get the whole thing in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then there's people like me who can't read, and we wait for the movie.
Right. Yeah, but
But something like sort of like the Lenny with Dustin Hoffman, the movie Lenny.
Right.
You know, something like that. You know, on that level.
I'd like to
because
see.
Really, it's an amazing life, and you know, it was way too short, but you know, he really was. And here's another thing, and I didn't mention it the whole time. My kids grew up knowing him. He was like their uncle, and he wasn't the famous guy. He wasn't the entertainer. He was just Otto, and he really loved children. You know, don't confuse his act with his personality, because I remember my oldest, who's a fireman now, John, he's a fireman in New York, and when he was born in '86. Otto came over, and he immediately just like took off his shoes and socks, and he's playing with his feet. And he wasn't afraid to hold a baby. He actually really enjoyed it. You know, you could see a love right there. And he would always ask me how my kids were. You know, he would come in, and when he visited me, he didn't just visit me. He visited my whole family. He was a different person. You know, he was a very warm and humble guy.
And kids loved him too. Kids were attracted to him, you know, and would constantly and not just my niece and nephews, but other children as well, loved to beat up on him, and he treated them like people, you know, like he didn't talk down to them.
Exactly.
And kids, they loved to punch him and crawl all over him, and he always said kids loved him so much because they could sense he had no legal representation.
Right.
You know.
It's so cool to hear these stories because we know who we hear on the radio or who we've seen on the stage, but obviously you guys knew the whole Otto. I mean, we didn't get to see the whole Otto really.
Yeah, there was a lot more of them than just what you see on stage. And although as great as that was, I missed the guy, and I'll always miss the guy. I still have the last text that he sent me, and I had bought this. Well, I actually my kids gave it to me, so because he was learning how to text and everything, and he would text me all the time. So I said, okay, I know how to text now. I got a new phone. So he goes, all right, here's your text, your test. Send me something. So, and I still have it on my phone. I can't get rid of it.
Right.
And he sent me the picture with him and Colin. And you probably know, Colin drove like 150 miles to see Otto.
Yeah, because, More recently in Boston, Otto was performing in Boston, and Stephen Wright drove like an hour down into a suburb of Boston. This is just like 3 years ago, and he's supposedly a recluse, Stephen Wright. But he came down. Yeah. Wow. He had never seen Otto perform, and he went out of his way to come down and see Otto. He was a real nice guy too, Stephen Wright.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate your time. We don't really want to tie you up, all night, even though. We can actually continue this in another show. I
got no life. It's okay.
I feel bad. I don't.
It's okay. I'm just hanging around in my stained underwear, eating my macaroni and cheese.
Oh my God.
Well, if you ever want to do it again, it's actually very nice to talk about him.
Yeah, and we appreciate it too. When Andrew came to me and said that you guys were willing to do this because we talked about this. And I was very happy, and I thought, it would be a lot of fun and a lot of reminiscing. And
it was my pleasure.
And we really enjoy it, and we'll absolutely do this again. If you guys are willing to do it again, we'll do it again.
Also, free therapy, it's like,
a
therapy session,
We're actually.
Now I got to pay you?
Yeah, you're.
Great.
He's Jewish. What do you expect?
Can you write me a prescription? That's what I want.
Yeah, that's hilarious. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Like I said, you guys.
OttoandGeorge.com.
Thank you.
You guys update OttoandGeorge.com all the time. You update his Twitter account and all that stuff.
You can still check out the Pig Roast, pigroast.tv.
You still see the Pig Roast on the website, right? Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And we're putting together, actually, putting the Pig Roast on DVD as well. The producer, Bobby Capelli, got the rights to it, and some things happened with him and kind of pushed it back. We were going to do it last year, but it's still going to happen. So that's going to be out on DVD, hopefully before too long. Great. All the episodes of the Pig Roast, plus a bunch of bonus material and behind-the-scenes stuff.
Big AZ is going to go through the fucking roof now because I know he's on that.
Oh, he's probably constantly.
Yeah,
probably.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh well.
One up on you, Paul.
Yeah, I know.
You should still watch it.
Oh no, I'll still watch it. I'll just fast forward the bits with Big A,
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's not right.
I'll have them make the DVD. I'll author the chapters so you can skip right past the Big A parts. How about that? I'm sorry, Andrew.
That's not right.
I bet you sell more copies with Big A edited out.
No.
No.
That's hilarious. All right, guys, we'll let you run. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Okay.
We really appreciate
My pleasure,
Thanks,
man.
And we'll absolutely
it really is great.
We'll do this again, and hopefully you guys will get together and get that book done because I would love to read this stuff.
Sure.
Well, it's something now. Now Trish has a reason to call me.
She probably won't.
Or during a time when I'm not asleep, because I go to bed at 9:30, so this is like past my bedtime even.
Yeah, this fucking 3-hour difference is killing us.
I know.
Yeah, well, John, I read on your Facebook. I'm assuming it's correct that you drive a school bus, right?
No, I drive a paratransit bus.
No, I was going to say
for people with special needs.
Oh, okay. I was going to say if it's a school bus, the kids go to school at 7 o'clock in the morning, so you're free in the evening. You can call them.
Yeah, but I get up at 4 now to because I start work. Fortunately, I live a mile from my job, but I get up at 4 to start at 5.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Yeah.
What time do you pick
That's
up
okay. It's
Yeah.
a living.
Denise just asked what time you pick
But
Big
the
A
ass
up.
you are.
Do you pick Big A up on your
Told you, no life. No life. It's a hollow lie, my life.
Oh, God. You know what? You can pick Big A up at the airport. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
I'll
Perfect.
use the lift.
Yeah. Your bus is completely fitted out for him to just get right in.
Hey, there you go. Big A can be our dummy. I'll sit on your lap and you talk.
No, Big A, they'll put the little crash helmet on him and the little rubber gloves so he doesn't hurt himself.
The mittens, yeah, there's mittens.
Little short bus.
Yeah. All right, we'll let you guys go. Thank you so much again.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, we'll talk to
I
you
love
guys
you,
soon.
Trish.
I love you too, John. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, we'll call. You know what we'll do?
Yeah,
we'll call you
hook
back.
up.
We'll call you guys back next month because obviously you're not going to talk to each other before.
Oh, that'd be great, man. Anytime. I love talking about my best friend.
No problem. We love it too. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Right.
Okay,
Bye,
guys.
Bye-bye.
Take care.